Committee on Appropriation on the 2024 and 2025 Appropriation Act, Repeal and Enactment Bill 2025. Mr. President, you may wish to recall that the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR, transmitted the letter of repeal and enactment, the bills on Friday, 19 December 2025, in accordance with the established constitutional and legislative appropriation process. 2.0 clearly states the objective of the bill, that is the original intendment of the repeal and enactment, while the first one has to do with the repealing of the sum of 35.005 trillion naira and in reenacting a sum of 43.561,041,74450 naira, and the breakdown of the makeup of the 43.5 is contained in the report, while 2.02 has to do with the repeal of 2025 Operation Act of 54.990 trillion and replacing it with the sum of 48.316 trillion. The breakdown of this 48.316 trillion is also contained in the body of the report, while the reduction from 54.48, this was as a result of moving 70% of 2025 capital into 2026, as clearly stated during the presidential budget presentation. 3.0 relates with the legislative action that was taken on the letter that was sent to the Senate by the President, and that is clearly stated in 3.0, which has to do with the economic team appearing before the committee to give us an idea as to why they are repealing and reenacting the two budgets. And the highlight of the bill is contained in 4.0, which has to do with the highlight of 2024 Appropriation Act, the repeal and enactment, and 2025, as stated below. The first one, under the 4.01, we have the aggregate expenditure, the statutory transfer, and all other components of the 43.5 trillion naira for 2024. While 2025 also, which is contained next, which has to do with the 4.316 trillion naira. Also the component, the statutory transfer, the debt services, the recurrent expenditure and capital expenditure is contained. The 5.0 clearly states the observation and findings of the committee, which I would like to go through into detail. The committee made the following observation and finding during their engagement with the economic team, that under the 2024 Appropriation Act, the repeal and enactment, an additional 8.5 trillion was introduced into the capital component of 2024 Appropriation Act to accommodate special intervention, particularly in response of security, humanitarian, and economic emergencies that confront the country during the period under consideration. While two, the repeal and enactment seek to balance the responsiveness with fiscal responsibility, ensuring that urgent expenditure do not weaken legislative oversight and undermine the fiscal procedure, the fiscal prudence. Three, under the 2025 Appropriation Act, the repeal and enactment, the sum of 6.674 trillion was reduced from the capital allocation and rolled into 2026 fiscal year due to the funding constraint. The initiative is expected to make the budget effective in meeting the expenditure of governance, given the anticipated increase in revenue generating profile in the next fiscal year. And the last but not the least, the continuation of the practice of running a multiple budget cycle concurrently, such as extending the implementation of 2025 Appropriation Act deep into 2025, while 2025 budget is already in force, undermine the budget clarity and weaken fiscal discipline. Mr. President, very distinguished colleague, it is on that note, after the observation and findings, that we now make our recommendation, which is as follows. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, the committee hereby recommend that the Senate do consider and approve the repeal and enactment of 2024 Appropriation Act to authorize the issuance from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation the total sum of 43.5 trillion naira. Only of which, as I've said, the component is clearly stated there, that is what's the build-up of the statutory transfer, the capital component, the recurrent, and the non-debt expenditure is clearly stated. Also, 2, to repeal and enact that of 2025 Appropriation Act, to authorize the issuance from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation the sum of 48.3 trillion naira. Mr. President, as usual, it contained the details, that is what makes up the 48.3 trillion naira. And also, lastly, that only for the contribution to the development fund for the capital expenditure of the year to end on the 31st day of March 2026 with accompanying schedule and details. That is, the budget for 2025 is hereby extended to 31st of March 2026. Conclusion. On behalf of the committee, I wish to thank the President of the Senate and the entire leadership and also the distinguished colleague for their support to the committee. I also commend the committee members for their dedication and diligence in ensuring the successful completion of this legislative assignment. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, I so submit.
Top-notch report, best of the best, and crafted within a very short period of time. We gave them only 2 days. Yes, top-notch, top-notch. I was a pioneer chairman of the committee of the House of Representatives, and I came to the Senate and also served as chairman of the committee, the first in the history of legislature to serve in the Senate as a chairman of the committee and also in the House of Reps. So when I see something that is good, I know it is good. So this is top-notch, Mr. President. And I commend the chairman and members of the committee for a job well done. I don't think there isn't anything to debate on this report. We just move ahead and pass it. Nothing to debate. We should pass it.
DSP, how did you describe it? Top-notch. Top-notch. Distinguished colleagues, DSP has stated that the top-notch report does not need any debate. But the chairman of the Committee on Finance,
flow, as my leader, the Deputy Senate President, have said, it is a top-notch report. And the reason why he said that, I can figure some of the things that I've seen in this package. Things like the light rail in Kano, the light rail in Ogun, in Kaduna, in Lagos, and border communities being captured. I think there is no better time that if we allow this to go, we will see a lot of changes. What we lack in this country is infrastructure. And what I have seen captured in this mostly are infrastructure, road, railway, and the welfare of Nigeria. So I believe we members of this committee under the leadership of the chairman of appropriation have done very well. Before others commend us, we will commend ourselves for doing a very good job. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah, I just wanted to know whether there is any observation from your part. So I just want to also join to commend describe as top-notch. The chairman of banking, do you have any reason to say it is not top-notch? Then go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name remains Adetokunbo Abiro, and I represent Lagos East. I also would like to lend my voice to this top-notch presentation as espoused by the Deputy Senate President. Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, I also completely agree with all that my colleagues have said, because the essence of this is essentially to bring about fiscal discipline and at the same time balance it with making sure that we don't lose major infrastructural spending due to legislative oversight, just as it has been captured. And more importantly, to actually shut down the idea of all of these budgets that are overlapping. And for that, I really commend the committee for a top-notch job that they have done. Thank you, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues. Thank you.
Yeah, the chief whip.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, my name is Mohamed Tahir Monguno. My own is only to give muscular expression to the top-notch submission of my chairman to the effect that the idea or the ugly scenario of running multiple budgets in a single revenue inflow will now be consigned to dustbin of history. And this is very, very commendable in the sense that such a practice brings about a lot of fiscal distortions to our budgetary system, and therefore commend members of the committee on behalf of my chairman for this very top-notch presentation, and urge my colleagues in the whole Senate to support this bill for passage with the speed of light. Thank you.
Well, distinguished colleagues, I thank you. So may I now invite the leader of the Senate to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation, the total sum of 43 trillion 561 billion 41 million 7 naira 507 naira, under which 1 trillion 742 billion 786 million 788,150 naira only is for statutory transfers, while 8 trillion 270 billion 960 million 606,830 31 naira only is for debt service. 11 trillion 268 billion 513,380,000 800 the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation of the total sum of 43 trillion 581 billion 41 million 7 naira only, of which 1 trillion 742 billion 786 million 788,150 naira only is for statutory transfers, while the sum of 8 trillion 270 billion 960,606,831 naira only is for debt service. 11,060,853 naira only is for recurrent non-debt expenditure, while the sum of 22,680,668 naira only is for contribution to the development fund for capital expenditure for the year ending on the 31st day of December 2025 and for related matters 2025 SB 985, third reading taken and passed. Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation, the total sum of 48 trillion 316 billion 242,591,785 naira only, of which 3 trillion 645 billion 761,358,925 naira only is for statutory transfers, while 14 trillion 317 billion 142,689,548 naira only is for debt service, while 13 trillion 588 million 682,673 naira only is for recurrent non-debt expenditure, while the sum of 16 trillion 765 billion 328 million 860,640 naira only is for contribution to the development fund for capital expenditure for the year ending on the 31st day of March 2026 and for related matters 2025, third reading taken and passed.